When a wealthy mother saw her maid holding her child, she reacted in the worst way possible. But the truth was something she never imagined. The glittering chandelier cast diamond-shaped patterns across the marble floor of the Langston estate. In the grand hallway, the air felt heavy, not with the usual scent of lilies that filled the house, but with shock. Emily Langston, wearing a silk dressing gown, stood trembling with rage. In front of her, Miriam, the family's black maid, held her cheek where Emily's hand had just struck her. "How dare you touch my son?" Emily snapped. "Stay away from him." Upstairs, little Oliver peered from behind the banister, tears shining in his eyes. Emily's husband, Richard Langston, slowly made his way down the staircase, his face calm but unreadable. "Emily," he said quietly, "you've no idea what you've just done." Emily Langston was the very picture of privilege. Her life a carefully arranged mix of charity lunches, luxury holidays, and a perfectly maintained public image. She adored her only child, Oliver, with an almost obsessive protectiveness. Miriam had worked for the Langstons for only 3 months. She was polite, soft-spoken, and thorough in her work. Oliver liked her a great deal, too much for Emily's comfort. She didn't approve of her son becoming too close to staff. That morning had begun like any other. Emily was getting ready for a luncheon with the mayor's wife. Richard was reading the financial pages in the library. Oliver was meant to be upstairs, playing in his room. But when Emily walked into the living room unexpectedly, she froze. Oliver was sitting on the sofa, clutching his stomach, while Miriam knelt beside him with one arm protectively around him. With her other hand, she gently brushed his hair away from his forehead. Emily's mind leapt to the worst possible conclusion: the overfamiliarity, the boldness, the impropriety. Without a word, she strode across the room and slapped Miriam hard. Across the face, the sharp sound echoed through the room. Miriam stumbled back, her eyes wide, not in anger, but in hurt. Mrs. Langston," she began, but Emily's voice cut her off like a blade. "You will never touch my son again. Do you understand me? Never!" Oliver's small voice trembled from the sofa. "Mom, please." But Emily's attention was fixed on Miriam, her chest burning with fury. Richard stepped into the room, his footsteps steady, almost deliberate. He had seen enough to know something was wrong, but not in the way Emily thought. "Emily," he said, "before you say another word, you need to ask Miriam why she was holding Oliver." Emily folded her arms and lifted her chin. "I don't need an explanation for what I saw." Richard's jaw tightened. "Yes, you do. And if you don't listen, you'll regret this moment for the rest of your life." Miriam took a deep breath and spoke calmly. "I was in the kitchen when I heard Oliver calling for help," she said. "When I came in, he was struggling to breathe. He'd eaten something with nuts, I think, and his throat was closing. I ran to him. I was about to fetch the EpiPen from the cupboard when you walked in." Emily's heartbeat faltered. That's impossible. Oliver doesn't have allergies." Richard's gaze was cold and steady. "Emily, he does. I found out last year. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd panic and keep him shut away from the world. The doctor gave me the EpiPen and showed me how to use it. I told Miriam because I trusted her to keep Oliver safe when we weren't here." Emily's voice wavered. "You told her? But not me?" Oliver, still pale, looked between his mother and Miriam. "Mom, she saved me. I couldn't breathe. I thought I was going to die." The room seemed to tilt around Emily. Her vision blurred, not from tears, but from the crushing realization of what she had done. The slap, the accusations, the blind judgment. She turned to Miriam, who stood still, her hands by her side, the faint red mark from the slap still visible. "Miriam," Richard asked, "why didn't you defend yourself when Emily hit you?" Miriam's eyes shone. "Because I knew Mrs. Langston was frightened, and fear makes people blind. I didn't want to make things worse in front of Oliver." The simple truth of her words cut through Emily's pride like a knife. Here stood a woman she had judged, not by her actions, but by her race, her position, and her place in the household. And that same woman had risked everything to save her. "Child." Emily sank into the nearest chair, her voice barely above a whisper. "Oh God, what have I done?" The rest of the day passed in a blur. Miriam quietly returned to her work, refusing the half-day Richard offered her. Oliver followed her around like a shadow. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She replayed the scene over and over, the gentleness in Miriam's touch, her silence, in the face of insult, and the way Emily's own fear had clouded her judgment. In the morning, she found Miriam in the kitchen preparing breakfast. For a moment, the words stuck in her throat. She wasn't used to apologizing, especially to staff. But this wasn't about pride anymore. "Miriam," she said softly, "I was wrong. I assumed the worst. You saved my son's life, and I struck you instead of thanking you. There's no excuse. I'm deeply sorry." Miriam looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "Apology accepted, Mrs. Langston. What matters most is Oliver's safe." Emily swallowed hard. "Please, call me Emily." From that day on, something changed in the Langston household. Emily made an effort to really know the people who worked for her. Miriam became more than an employee. She became part of the family. And for the first time, Emily learned what it meant to trust someone outside her privileged circle. At the next luncheon, when a socialite made a careless remark about staff being replaceable, Emily's voice was calm but firm. "Not in my house," she said. "Some people can't be replaced." And as for Miriam, she never spoke of the slap again. But sometimes when Oliver hugged her after school, Emily would catch Miriam's eye, and they would share an unspoken truth. Moment of prejudice can break trust in seconds, but one act of courage can rebuild it stronger than before.